Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. And welcome back, Hanna Wallace, to the podcast for the third time, maybe?
Think second or third time, I can't remember,
Yeah.
but it's so great to be here and to be connecting with you. And it just feels like this always this beautiful, expansive conversation between us. So yeah, I can't wait for today.
I'm very excited. Yeah, we have synchronicities, we have so much to speak about, and I'm really excited to talk about the beautiful Scorpio season that we're entering soon. Depending on when you're listening to this, we're mid-October now, and I think here up in the north where we live, we can feel the energy and nature shifting very deeply into this Scorpio season with a little bit of more darkness and cold and the invitation to go within. And I'm just excited to listen a little bit to you about what Scorpio represents to you and how have you seen it manifesting in your life?
Oh, I love that question. So my mum is a Scorpio,
Mm.
and one of my closest friends is also a Scorpio. And it's interesting because one is a November, one is an October one. And I do think there's different energies that exist there. But there is a very interesting thing with Scorpios. I find Scorpio season, there's a darkness, a sexiness, like a death, but a renewal because we pass through Samhain, as we know, and in the wheel of the year when it turns and it reactivates, it begins kind of witchy new year. So it feels to me that Scorpio season is very much tied into Halloween and the kind of the witch energy and the energy of power and the energy of any woman that identifies with that. They they've understood times where they haven't felt in their power. They've understood times where they have felt misunderstood. And they've also, I think there's this thing when we are doing this work and we're entering into this phase about, we almost get, because it's very much like, as we know in linear life, of that 24-hour clock, the we're not taught of the goodness of going inwards, the initiation and going under. And I think that Scorpio season forces us to do that. It represents us going down into the darkness and feeling it. But I feel like there's also this energy that then when we can start to kind of get into it's reclamation, and it's reclaiming those parts of ourselves that we've misunderstood as well. But I'll tell you this, and it felt like this from equinox, the autumn equinox here in the northern hemisphere. It felt like we were pushed into autumn. Like sometimes when we're moving through the wheel and we move into a season, it can feel like gentle. It felt like we were pushed into the equinox, and it was in eclipse season, and now we're emerging from that, with the full moon that we have in Aries tomorrow, and then the Scorpio season is coming upon us, and it just feels like we've been pushed into the darkness, and we're fumbling around trying to figure it out.
Mm. So true. It felt like a big portal around that time, like you said, and it feels like I don't know if anyone else who's listening to this have felt like a big opening the past couple of weeks with intuition and dreams. I've had a lot of that, and I think it's because we start grounding when we're in the earthy season before going into the metal season of autumn in Chinese medicine, that we go from like fire and joy and like the heart space, and then we go into like the digestive areas and the earthy element after summer, and then we have the autumn or fall that is, I mean, if we look at metal, it's heavy and it's within the earth, and it's like completely grounded, like it's not floating anywhere, it's not going upward, and that's entering the yin. And with the equinox, it like really opened us up, so the body is grounded, And maybe that sometimes we feel like if we're not grounded, or if we are grounded, it's hard to open up. But I can feel that it's when I'm grounded with the earth, she's pulling me closer and closer, that's where I get this opening. And because of the stillness that happens, even the mind becomes heavier and goes into the heart and the womb and down, I feel like.
I agree. And I think it's a misconception of this idea of us to be all in our heads. That, you know, there is a big importance of us getting, we can be open, be in our bodies, be connected to the earth, draw from the essence of the earth, draw from the darkness of the earth as well as the light, and bring that up. And it opens us up in a way, like what you said about coming down into the heart and the womb, and kind of that in your deck that we discussed, the eye that exists in the heart. So we're not only seeing from here, we're seeing with that eye through our heart as well. Because I think it's so easy for people to get really stuck in the idea that to be quote unquote spiritual or doing your work, you need to be up there. But actually, if we cut ourselves off from our bodies, uh, it almost blocks healing as well. And I think there's, and the thing about Scorpio season with the more sensual aspect of it's about bringing us back into our bodies, that density, because it feels very dense. Because do you find it interesting, you're in Scorpio season, it feels dense, you've got a lot of kind of polarity, you've got the darkness, the initiation, the sexiness, the kind of the Scorpio energy, and then you move into Sagittarius season, it's so different. It's like this energy that it suddenly relights back up into party season or something. So for me, Scorpio season is buoyant. And you know, I said to you about this idea of Samhain, as we know that when we cross through that portal, that energy, the veil is thinner, and the wheel restarts, and it's almost like a new year. And for us, you know, right now it feels like we're in the descent, the death, the shedding. And if we don't have a good relationship with that and the darkness, we're gonna feel it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I was recently reading about, how important it is for a seed to be in that darkness and to be crushed almost open, right? And we can feel that. And I love the time of Samhain because it's such a I think because of Scorpio, many people, I don't know, those who are listening today, if you know, it's the 8th sign of the zodiac, and the zodiac represents the different stages of life, the different places and experiences that we have. It represents our psychology. There's so much in it, but in that stage we have like moved from the 7th sign, which connects us to our relationship and our like this duality in life, and then coming back in to go deeper within, because we have already let the opposite of Scorpio is the earthy Taurus. So that's when we connect very much with our physical and outer layer and our values and that feminine energy of the earth. And then here we enter a different feminine archetype, which is so deep into the psyche and subconscious. And so I feel it connects us so much with our mystical path. And even if we're not on the mystical path, it connects us so deeply with something that is beneath the surface. So something needs to unsurface to be seen, healed, transformed, like this alchemy that is going on. And without the blend of these different experiences, you don't have like the recipe of evolution within yourself. You have to have, because life could be like a boring video game that is predictable and you're just doing whatever you want. And when the challenges come, that's when we put so much energy into that game. That we can view our lives as, or a movie. And this time within the priestess tradition that I studied, so we start with the autumn equinox, when the conception begins. There's so many different lineages, but if we would look at the midpoint then between this and the winter solstice, which is Samhain in the wheel of the year, that is the time of gestation within the womb before the birth. So there's something like growing and being nurtured at this time. And at the same time, it's a deep descent, because if we look out, like I can say, it's already starting to get very dark. Everyone knows in Sweden and in the Nordics, it gets so dark. So the darkness has already overcome the light. It's not anything negative. It needs to be like that for nature to grow as it should. So I think it's I don't know how this subconscious work. Have you noticed that, and how can Scorpio season help us with that, do you think? How do you feel?
You know, when you were just saying that, I was thinking about this idea of secrets, and I feel like Scorpio, you know, if you know a Scorpio, you'll find that you can really trust them. They'll keep a secret, but they have secrets. It feels like there's a depth, the secrets of Scorpio season, and that's part of our subconscious, the secrets that are locked in our subconscious. And I think that Scorpio season, we can use it by in a way surrendering and getting stiller and honoring the darkness, like what you said about the light changing. It's actually a very grey day here, and I think it's our perception and reaction to things, right, always, and how we see a season or a period is everything, and our response and reaction to that. And I think that if we do have things that need to be, you know, which all of us do in our subconscious, and we're moving through life, we're dreaming, like you say right now, dreams are wild and crazy. And I think it's honoring the fact, okay, am I safe enough to begin digging in my subconscious and asking with this Scorpio season to, you know, get that torchlight in the darkness, in the depths, and illuminate that. And but at the same time, I think there's this idea of safety, and I think it's really important for us as we do all this work, and we do want to dive deep, and we do want to look at things, and if we're on a healing journey and doing that work, and however that looks, and even if you're not on a healing journey, what, because things like you and I said before we started doing this, things come up, life happens, and I think the thing that often gets triggered is this idea of safety. If we begin to feel safe to be able to look at those things, safe to heal, safe in our bodies, safe to look at the things that don't necessarily feel safe, can I hold that and look at that with a different view, with a different perspective? So I really do think that that's something that is super important for us to do in Scorpio season, to have that two-pronged situation where we're looking at our safety and looking at how we feel to be able to go down, because I think it can be very easy and we can go in, but we don't want to shock our systems. We don't want to, you know, in our bodies as women through millennia have been through enough. And I think there's so many shock points that when we rush into things or we think, okay, I'm okay to do that, I think it's like almost having that check-in and asking, am I ready, and moving through that slowly. And the more that we do that, we meet ourselves in a new way, and we meet the vulnerability. And when we meet our vulnerability and we dive into that, we meet our power and we remember our power. So I think it's like it's that polarity, but I feel like Scorpio season brings out that polarity as well. And we also discussed the idea, you talk about secret subconscious. Pluto, for the last time, is moved back into Capricorn, and then at, I think it's around I think it's the 16th of November, it moves into Aquarius for the rest of our lifetime. And I think this happening bang on Scorpio season is no mistake with what's going on in the world. So we've got the outer stuff, but even within ourselves, what rigid stuff can we look at? What patterns, what habits, what secrets have we held within ourselves that either we need to acknowledge for ourselves or we need to voice. Because, I think it's important as well, and I'm sure you would agree, it's sometimes it's the acknowledgement ourselves. It's not always what we're saying to the outside. It's looking at the things ourselves and feeling safe to acknowledge them and not hide from them too.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true. And it's good that you brought up this big transition of Pluto, which happens now and is happening, and that is like a big deal within this collective shift. So we see so much happening around us right now that Pluto and Scorpio represents, right? We can say that for sure. And then on the collective, it is always reflected. This macrocosm and microcosm always reflects back. So a bigger shift needs to happen on the microcosmic level as well. And it can be powerful that, even, let's say that most of the individuals within the collective are not doing that type of deep healing, but those that are create maybe we're creating like a diameter of thousands of kilometers around us, and that can also help because we are having this effect going out. And when I think about Pluto, I really see this power, because it's not powerful because it's big or like it's empowering like that. It holds its own power, and it's that power, that darkness of the womb power, that is like, imagine the womb, that little organ that creates life. So it doesn't have to be a big thing to create such an impact. And with Scorpio, I feel like sometimes Scorpio can also be very much within the box of like the outer pleasure and things like that, but it's also like the deep inner balance between so many layers of us. And while we were talking, I was drawing some cards from my healing oracle card deck, and the first card that comes up, and speaking about that womb, it's I listen to the voice of my body. It tells me exactly what I need. It's a physical healing card. It connects us so much to our physical body and being nurtured by the Divine Mother always. And the spirit animal there is the bear, which also represents like that comfort of and the moon, of course. And we have a full moon coming up now tomorrow in Aries, which is very powerful and strong and like impactful after very intense eclipse season. And we have to say that the eclipse season has also had its impact, right?
Absolutely, and I think it's prepared us for this Scorpio season. For the we look at Pluto and Capricorn, power structures, things changing, moving into Aquarius. What about the power and the structures within us that need to change and be dismantled as well? Because it's we have the outer, but it's almost like that Scorpio will take us within ourselves. What's our relationship to power with ourselves? How do we react to the power within ourselves? Are we connected to our power, or do we disown our power? And why is that? And when you say about the subconscious, I think this season in particular is about our own personal power. If we've disowned our personal power for whatever reasons, and there could be a number of reasons, how can we dismantle those old structures around us that probably have been within us for so long for a number of reasons, and how can we recalibrate and reset that? But we've got to go in the darkness of Scorpio and be held. And when you say about that womb, the physical healing and the baby, the rebirth almost, that we are being held in the womb of the earth in the Scorpio season, in the darkness, and being renourished and recalibrated. And So those structures can fall apart. So we can move forward, especially after this eclipse season that I think for many people has felt like it's felt harsh.
Yeah, and exactly. So there's many things that have affected, and coming into this is like the things that might have come up during eclipse season or now after. This is the time again to melt it all together. I feel like integration is about taking time to really be with the things, not like try. I was speaking on Portal to Ascensions 11-day awakening event. There were 77 speakers and it's still going on, and I spoke about healing not as like something that is linear, that you come from one place to another and then you're done. It's like spirals going up and down, sideways, and it's so dynamic. And it's about going through that. It's not about going away from it in any way. And the second card that I chose connects a little bit to the heart center again. It keeps coming up. This is like the emotional healing card. It says my heart is open to receive love, and there's the cacao bean and the chalice, which also represents the womb, and is something that we work with in our priestess tradition, to receive that chalice from the goddess and to put it into, like, nourish all the places within our divine feminine essence of the creative, the receptive, the heart space, the ancestral place, the cosmic mother. There's so many different things, but I feel like a message that is coming up is a lot to do with the heart, which is so powerful, and it moves beyond the mind. So the healing is like opening up. We can even visualize it from the heart and spreading out. It doesn't have to always be from without to within. I feel like it's something that we hold already.
I love that. And I think there's also this idea when you talk about the heart, what I spoke about before of the safety and going within, because we often we can't open our heart without that vulnerability and the going within to listen. So then we can go within, come back up and open, like what you said. And I think that how can we, I think maybe the question we can ask, and maybe spirit is bringing through, is how can we bring the heart into Scorpio season, the season that you wouldn't necessarily put heart with? How can we open our heart in the darkness? How can we open our heart when we don't always feel strong? How
Mm,
can we remain open hearted in the depths? Because it's very easy to be open hearted, or to be when things are maybe going well or when things aren't too bad, but to remain open hearted in our power in the darkness when we're moving through things, that is indeed a power.
mm. And the heart holds so much power and can be easily closed.
Yeah.
it's it's so easy to be closed off, and to uh, it can go very because it's so protective in a way, right? And imagine when we get stressed or in fear, the heart palpitations that we get, and how it's trying to communicate, and the heartbeat is representing the divine, like with every beat of it, it's constantly reminding us. It's probably the first sound that we hear as well. It's the first thing that is developed within the womb. Before everything else, it's the heart that can be seen within the fetus. So it's so powerful. Like, how can we miss that? And this is like, my heart is open to receiving love, and it goes beyond, like, why are we longing for so much love in life? And we're longing for this divine connection, that divine and eternal love that we are all created from. And when I see when I see, Scorpio's 3 levels as well, the Scorpio in itself, it can feel like that tightness of the heart. It's very, do you know why? I think it's so connected to, um, because Scorpio is so deep and so connected also to emotions that we try to push away. And when we feel disappointment in ourselves or in life or in others, that's disappointment and feeling like this unfairness, not only for us, for everyone. It's a very deep thing to feel, which many people feel, and if we're feeling it on a collective level, it really impacts us. Then our tendency becomes the Scorpio to sting and to be harsh, because it's kind of hard, right? When you just look at the animal itself. And then when we transmute that, because it is also the phoenix rising, so when we evolve, I feel like it's also so connected to the serpent, very connected to earth and like the divine feminine. But then when it raises up into the eagle can also attack, but it also has a bigger view of everything, right? And then into the dove state of the scorpionic, which is, I mean, now I've understood that it's so connected to the stars and the dove is so much more than what we think about in religious terms, but it's so connected to how I just feel like it's the evolution going from here to maybe Pisces of unconditional love and forgiveness and compassion. It's not easy to get there and we are here to be fully human and feel all of I feel like Scorpio can be connected to that, those human experiences that we sometimes want to disown or not be part of, like jealousy, right? Like having like negative thoughts about things that we try to suppress all the time. Especially, I mean, some people are fully in that experience, but there's no balance then, and it's no balance to be like suppressing things that we are here to experience, like in Chinese medicine, like what I write about, that you have to have the full spectrum of feelings in balance.
I absolutely agree, and I just the way you described that with the layers of Scorpio, and the sting, and the transformation within the heart. And I think as well, when we don't want to feel those negative emotions, what you said about like jealousy and things, how can we meet ourselves where we're at when we're feeling something, and be like, yeah, I'm feeling this and I'm going to move through it? Because I think what happens is we push it down because we don't want to move through it. Whereas if we and I think Scorpio season presents us with that opportunity to do that. But it
Mm.
also, if we're not careful, the shadow side of Scorpio can be the burying, can be the darkness, can be where we would rather bypass than to feel. So I think it's at the same time as we're moving into Scorpio season, it's making sure that we are meeting ourselves where we're at, and we are looking at those things and moving through them without judgment. Because as soon as we kind of remove the judgment, the energy, the label to something, we take our power back, right? So if we're feeling an emotion, like you say, such as jealousy, if we take the kind of energy and the power that the you don't want to be jealous and all of that, and you move through it, it can transform. How can that then be transformed through the heart?
Yeah. And it's about non-judgment then, because the heart is unconditional love. So you stop judging things that and be having expectations that are not maybe not serving us at all. It's just creating whatever we don't want to have more of. And I have the third card. It's also actually from the emotional healing theme. It's I forgive and release the past to heal my life. I feel like this is Scorpio card, right?
This is Scorpio with the dark moon, that is Scorpio, that is, yeah, that's the witch, that's the energy, that to me is Samhain. That is, yeah, super. And also that through forgiveness, through healing of ourselves and others where it's needed, we can meet the darkness in a new way, because we no longer become afraid of the darkness. I think Scorpio season, in a nutshell, is almost learning for us not to be afraid of the darkness anymore as well.
Mm.
And as we move through the various aspects and the layers of it, when we become unafraid of that, we can truly meet ourselves, and that then takes us back to that heart that you spoke about, because when we meet ourselves and we're no longer afraid of the dark, we can meet the heart.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And being the time of metal and then going into the water seas, like the water element of the cold winter in the northern hemisphere, we are in the opposite of the elements if we are in the southern hemisphere, going from the wood element of waking up and being this young energy, and then into the fire, which is the opposite of water. The Scorpio also being water, it connects us to fears, and it's, you know, the kidney and this watery element of, you know, fears and anxieties can come up, which are normal, and it can be internal or external fears. But I feel like if it's coming up now, it's meant to be again alchemized or worked with, and it can come up in different ways in different times. It's not that it might disappear if we do a certain ritual or set a certain intention. It's there to drive us to something, as long as it's not driving us to something that we can always use that the harsher energy and lessons to do something, this transmutation, you know. And while I'm talking about that, I'm really like excited about the cards today. I don't know why, it's something that came to me. Sometimes it's really powerful when we work with tarot or oracle cards, because this one is and one with the infinite consciousness. It feels like the eagle is raising up into the sun, and this Kurdish sun, which represents the 21 rays, which is the transmutation of the soul. So this is you know, when the eagle is raising up and becoming a part of that infinite consciousness that is not anything that we can conceptualize. It's everything and nothing. And because when we are in this scorpionic state on the ground, or like, you know, the serpent is so, it's like the most grounded. Right? The full body is grounded. And then we have this raising, but it can also be an almost like a going in as well and down, and that is also a state of awakening. I feel like it goes both up and down. Or what do you feel?
I really agree with that. And when you brought up about the alchemy and alchemizing, I think that Scorpio season gives us a direct mirror to look at. I think there's a lot of mirrors in Scorpio season as well. And we are given that direct mirror. What's our relationship to alchemy? And how do we view that? And do we believe that is possible for us to alchemicalize, you know, that, and to go within and bring about that transformation? So I think it's us looking at our relationships to the darkness, to the alchemy, and and removing those barriers around our subconscious, meeting the secrets, meeting the darkness, going into the earth, doing the excavation, but coming back up, and remembering that heart, like you spoke about, the eye in the heart, and that eagle. If you think about it, in the heart with the eye, the ego, when we expand out from the heart, the wings of the ego, they come out. So it's
Mm.
such a, it's alchemicalizing and transforming things through the darkness, through the earth, and then moving back up through the heart and out, and it kind of bringing about alchemy, alchemical transformation in a heart-centered way, but at the same time, like you say, in this harsher season, which almost for some people may feel like a total kind of contradiction. But I think that is the very essence of Scorpio, the contradiction of the energy.
Yeah, and when you talk about, I'm thinking also when you're saying this, the opposite of Scorpio, like the Taurus Earth.
Yeah.
How can we bring that in? Because I feel like that's what's also, the evolution goes both ways, like from Scorpio to Taurus, Taurus to Scorpio. It feels like what is it within the divine feminine when it comes to our senses? Because it's like Taurus and Venus, which rules Taurus, is so much about our physical experience and that pleasure, right? And then there's this very inner pleasure of being connected, not physically to something, but something like this more divine or esoteric connection to that mystery and magic of life somehow. That can bring us so much pleasure, right? When we're in it, it's really powerful.
It's super powerful. And when I think about that it's such polarity between Taurus and Scorpio, because we think about grounded luxury, that kind of, I think in a way, when I spoke about that safety, the Taurus there is to balance out and help us bring in that safety, the grounded, the how we can move through those experiences, but with that energy of Taurus in a grounded and comfortable way. How can we bring that energy in to support us through the darkness? Because I think that sometimes when we're going through initiation, we almost think we have to be harsh with ourselves and force ourselves to experience things on the bare bone. And I think the mirror of Taurus is to say, you can do this, but you don't need to always do it in a way that's going to be deeply it doesn't mean it's not going to be uncomfortable, but you can have some comfort within that uncomfortability. And looking at that aspect as well. But I think the Taurus energy is the grounding aspect, the earth, to remind us that, because I think in a way the darkness for some people can feel addictive. It can almost feel safer to be down doing that. And I think it's to remind us that the earth is there to ground us, to reconnect us, to root us, to neutralize. So I think the reason why we have those opposites there is just to kind of bring the groundedness back to that highly fire strung, that Scorpio energy that is it can desire, right? Desire can drive us to so many different ways. And I think it just kind of connects us back to the earth, that we can have our desires, we can do the stuff, go into the darkness, do the work, but bringing that grounded energy back in as well, I think is so important.
Yeah, that's a true medicine. And I want to just lastly, another card came up, and I think it's connected to you because this is your ancestral lands. And again, connected to the heart chakra of the earth. I deserve to receive and give love. And you have the tour of Glastonbury there. And
Wow.
this is the heart chakra card that came up. And it feels like we can connect to this power spot, all of us. If you look at the colors and the greens and the tower, and yeah, it's about, I think we got the message. We need to, during this season, work a lot with the heart and feeling how we can open it, like nurture it, to be able to receive and to give and to be just in that heart temple that I say, that is, it's a full devotional. We can be devotional, and that takes us out from many things that keeps us like closed off, I feel like.
I I love that. And I think with the heart reminds us that in the darkness, and when we're doing this, if it is feeling, if it is going to be, it will be tough. I say if it is, I think it's going to be tough for people, but our perception of it and bringing the heart into it will be transformative. And recognizing the mirrors by, I think, it's utilizing and optimizing a season. I say this, how can we utilize and optimize the aspects of a season that can help support us through these things? So taking the good things from it and using those, and letting that be reflected back, so ultimately we can land back in our heart, and we can move out of Scorpio season, and we will then be Pluto in Aquarius, and it's like a new age is upon us. And at the same time we've moved through Samhain, the wheel has restarted, we're at that halfway point between autumn and winter. It feels like it will feel like a relief in a way.
Definitely. I feel that too. And I'm so grateful that we got to speak on this topic today. I'm wondering if you want to share anything else, and where can people find you and your wisdom?
Oh, well, I have a wonderful Substack where I write all kinds of different things, normally once a week. So I would love people to come and find me over there, Hanna Wallace, and it's called Notes on Grace. And that you can sign up via my website. And yeah, for me, that's a really powerful thing. And Instagram as well, the Hanna Wallace, and www.hanna-wallace.com. I even still have my old school blog. Once a month I upload a blog, and it brings me so much joy to do that. So yeah, do reach out to me to connect, to work with me, and yeah, it's great. But yeah, I would love to think that my Substack is growing, and I love the energy that that's bringing, how it connects me with people. So yeah.
I love that. And we will have the links in the show notes. And thank you again. And happy Scorpio season to everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shireen.
Thank you.